Hey guys, Brent Hull, Wednesday design video. Got a ranch project that we're working on, and I've tried to move it away from a modern, unadorned piece to something that has texture and interest using historic precedent, in this case, timbering. This is the ranch project where we worked on the front porch. We showed a number of different variations. They liked it with the brackets. So you'll see what I did with that as we work it throughout the house. Let me know what you think. This is that ranch house we're working on. Remember I had those pillars that we changed and we kind of came up with the design with. This is a 3D model that was put together and really trying to fix and help make this make sense. And this is the entry hall. What I'm doing here is kind of fixing this discombobulated wall, okay? This wall that got weird shelving over here. This is actually in the middle. There's an opening on this side. And so what I'm doing is I'm showing a plank door covering those shelves. I've changed the stone mantle in here to be something, a little bit more grand and, centrally focused. And I'm putting paneling on the wall, very similar to that arts and craft paneling. Notice I've got pegging details. I've added a rustic stair with these kind of timber treads and everything like that. So I am trying to put together something that makes more sense to the rest of the house. Here's another good example of kind of what's wrong here, because on the outside, this is the outside porch, I've got all these horizontal lines running, these windows that have already been ordered, I can't really do anything about, and trying to fix this. So this is a little bump out in the kitchen where you're gonna have a seating area and what we can do to it. And so by introducing these kind of timbers and the timber framing and the pegging, you can see how we are giving this a better, more texture, more architectural oomph, as I like to say, even by introducing these kind of beam frame in detail, and then the siding goes in between there. That's really going to help this thing kind of gain clarity. I'm showing here on this side that this base could be made all in stone, right? So you don't have to have all that timbering that goes down to the ground. You can actually have stonework that would look pretty interesting. And then, finally, this was the column that they wanted on the front porch. This is kind of what we're dealing with, these horizontal lines. And look how, by introducing this kind of scale and this timber framing in here, this doesn't look just kind of like a big flat area with all these lines, but actually, has texture and has, kind of purpose. And it kind of like, okay, this building was put together. This isn't a metal building with siding all over the side of it. This is actually a wood structured building, and introducing those things, even though I've got very modern sliding windows here, even though I've got these casements, I can still have a very traditional or a more traditional look here by just influencing it and practicing some traditional details. There's a number of ways to do this, and I did this kind of fireplace as just kind of an alternative that has a big timber going across the top, has wood storage on the side, but then kind of has even a cooking arm that goes over inside this so that this whole space becomes this big cooking area. So there's a way to kind of play with the dial here where one side is kind of formal, you've got cut stone with a keystone arch in there, and this other side is much more simple and rustic. And so there's a dial where you can play with here that really can give this house a little bit more texture. Looking at it from the other side, you can see kind of the things that I'm changing. One, by having plank doors with strap hinges on it, with ironwork, with clinch nails that kind of make it more board and batten, I can give this house more punch, right? And so if you think about the doors that we saw that I showed in England with the strap hinges and the plank doors and stuff like that, that's what I'm envisioning here. That paneling that's at the Voicey house, that's what I'm envisioning here. And so now there's a hierarchy of, we've got siding on the outside, we've got in this main elevated space, this living room, this main living room, we've got paneling on the wall. Now it's a very simple paneling. It's not very deep. It doesn't have a lot of detail to it, but it's much more elevated to a ranch house, right, than like formal Georgian pattern or stuff like that. And so, the way it's drawn right now, they've got these weird details. And the problem with kind of the 3D mapping is they end up showing details that you're really not sure how to build. They're just kind of lines. And so I'm actually trying to infuse a cap across here that runs across, that gives my beams this essence of a column, and then there's an entablature sitting on top that the beam sits down on. So, you'll notice I've got these arches in here with the king post, peg details, right? So all things that take something that's stale and is just kind of computer generated ugly, and I'm actually trying to infuse architectural traditions into it and architectural variety to it so that it's just better, right? And so you'll see on here that if you look at this stair, I'm planning on a fairly rustic stair, but look at the detail here. Look how they've drawn this. It's just kind of these square blocks here. What I'm doing is I'm actually going to take this tread and I'm actually going to run it back here. So that tread is actually, what is that, 14, 16 inches by 6 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these treads, okay, as they go up. The way this was done historically is that, these treads were supported by each other. So this tread's supported by this. If I just have these square boxes, it's not supported visually. So by running it backwards this way, I now have something back here that can support the front of this tread and give it kind of visual strength. You notice I've also put in this kind of this handrail here, which we'll pick up on the front porch, but I've got timbering details. I've got, these treads are going to be solid timbers. They're going to be a lot of texture in your foot. So when you step down on that, there might be a crack in it, or we might carve out a little worn path so that you when you walk up it, you actually feel like it's been there 100 years. Dilbeck used to do that in his houses. That would help you climb the stairs, but also help give this sense of age and texture and everything else. So, look at the things I'm adding. I've got, plank doors. I've got these solid wood tread steps, this traditional detail in this fireplace, or something even more rustic. But taking design ideas that are 100 years old, 120, 150 years old, and putting them into the design of this house is going to give this life and not be, for instance, if I'm a builder and I'm trying to build this, that's going to be a ugly mantle. I don't even know what these materials are. I don't know how this is being put together. And if it's being put together in a modern sense, it could be a hot mess. But if we go back with traditional details and traditional elements, then we know how it's being built. We recognize those materials, and we can start putting together something that makes more sense visually, so that you walk into it, it has a sense of place, and it's really something special. Okay guys, what did you think? Better? A lot of fun things you can do here, kind of infuse this historic precedent and historic texture into the house. I think it improves it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm Brent Hull, thanks for watching.